This is Robert Kraft, and I'm coming to you live on SNN.Live, and we're at the LD Micro Invitational 2019 in Bel Air, California. With me right now is Matthew Schultz from CleanSpark, publicly traded company. The symbol is CLSK. Matthew, welcome to SNN.Live.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on. So for our audience, let's start off with an overview of the company, and then we'll go from there.
Great. Yeah, CleanSpark is a distributed energy resource management software company. What that means is we build micro power grids to save money and energy.
All right, let's get a history of the company. When did it start, and how did you develop to where you're currently at today?
Oh, great question. So in 2011, the California Energy Commission sponsored a grant to identify ways to mitigate brownouts and blackouts on mission critical stuff at Camp Pendleton. We responded to that RFP, were awarded the contract, and built that first microgrid in 2014. And since that time, we've refined our system to be more tailored towards industrial, commercial, residential clients, real estate investment trusts, and less focus on the military. But we've continued to build military installations. In fact, we just commissioned a big data and communication center at Camp Pendleton a week ago.
So tell me about the company's value proposition. What makes the company unique and different when compared to your competition?
Good question. So when we built that first microgrid at Camp Pendleton, there were 55 plus energy asset providers on site. That means companies that had some solar panels or inverters or chargers or whatever the case may be. And so what we did is we designed a system that would allow integration of multiple different manufacturers of solar panels or batteries or fuel cells into a single system. It's been an advantage over some of the big companies like General Electric or Lockheed Martin that the system has to be a single line, their manufacturer and their controls. And so with the lessons that we learned integrating those systems, we were able to build a modeling platform. So now we can go to our customers and find out what energy resources they've already invested in. We identify what their utility rates are, the different time of use charges that may exist, demand charges that may be assessed by the utility, and then we look at a history of their consumption. And we build them a financial model that shows, based on what their priorities are, resiliency, keeping the lights on like the military wants, economic optimization, saving money on the grid, or actually selling power back to the grid as an income stream, or even just simply a greenhouse gas reduction. And so we model those systems for our clients. It's an exercise that we're very adept at, and then that generally translates into the design and engineering of a system that ultimately is controlled over the long term by our software controls platform. It's an artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud-based system. So when we put software on an installation, it's continually updated to ensure that if there are different behaviors from our client, they add new piece of equipment or bring in new tenants, the system responds to maximize the efficiency according to what matters to them.
So I have to ask, what is the main differentiation then between you and some of your competition that's out there that may have been doing this for a little bit longer? Why are you guys winning more business?
That's a great question. So Navigant Research is the kind of the industry analyst in the energy space. And in early 2018, they published a list of the top 75 global microgrid companies. The end of 2018, they published a list that distilled that down to the top 15 global solutions providers. CleanSpark ranked number 10 on that list, ahead of General Electric and Lockheed Martin. And the distinct advantage that we have is our service is vendor and hardware agnostic. And what that means is if you've installed solar panels on your building, and you decide you want to expand that to a microgrid to include storage and resiliency, if you go to some of our competitors, in fact, most of our competitors, they're going to require that you take those solar panels you just invested in and get rid of those and buy their product. What's different for us is we have the ability to integrate all of those unique vendor lines into a single ecosystem and operate it at maximum efficiency. And we've patented that. So it's really a competitive advantage that our system determines when and if to distribute power to a requesting module is what the patent says. And what that really means is if your priority is managing specific circuits, so if it's a healthcare facility and there are critical circuits that can't go off, then the system makes the decision to make sure power is distributed there as opposed to perhaps HVAC in the parking garage. So it creates a hierarchy, and so our patent is specific to the ability to distribute those resources when and where it matters most to the client.
And what's your background? How did you get into all this?
It's crazy. I was actually in a different field in the energy space, in oil and gas, and we would create in-field increased density developmental programs for real estate investors to do a 1031 tax-free exchange from traditional real estate into oil and gas, and kind of developed a realization for just how damaging we've been to the environment. So my partners and I acquired a technology to create clean fuel from waste products, whether it's biomass or beetle kill pines or even municipal waste. And we began to develop that technology in partnership with a microgrid company on a potential deployment up at the Bridgeport Mountain Warfare Training Center in Northern California. And as a result of our technology being so complementary to theirs, we ended up acquiring that company to continue to advance it. So I've been an energy guy for my entire career.
And from what you can tell me as a public company, what are some of the company's growth drivers now moving forward?
So great question. One of the challenges we've had, we've just recently finished an engineering proposal on a shopping center. It's that project is slated to come in between $13 and $18 million, depending on the resources. Because our solution is so unique, it's required CleanSpark to perform in the capacity of the engineering, procurement, and construction. So we're a licensed electrical construction company, but that's really not our core competency. We're a software company. So we recently made an acquisition of a switchgear, and that's the intersection point of the utility and the storage and the generation. By completing that acquisition, it allows us a place for our software to live in a physical asset. Mm-hmm. So now we no longer have to develop all these these projects and work in the physical construction side of it. It allows us to sell a piece of equipment that's not competitive with battery manufacturers or solar panel manufacturers or anyone else. And it gives us a place for our software to live. So it really reduces the deployment time frames for these projects going forward, and it decreases our exposure to construction risk. So it allows us to do what our core business is, and that is to develop software-based applications.
And where can our audience go and find more information about CleanSpark?
It's CleanSpark.com.
My name is Robert Kraft, and I'm coming to you live on SNN Live, and we're at the LD Micro Invitational 2019 in Bel Air, California. With me again has been Matthew Schultz from CleanSpark, publicly traded company. The symbol is CLSK. Matthew, it was a pleasure.
Hey, thanks for having us. It's been a lot of fun.